As Aquila, the matriarch of the tribe, the name I finally remembered after all this time, asked Auman about the pouch he had, we returned to a past memory where Vikir was asking Ayan about Auman's birth, as he thought that it would be good for him to know more about Auman. Ayan reveals to him that Auman wasn't a native Balak, even his birth was unknown to them, but long ago, he was the existing shaman's slave and came to the Balaks. She recalls that he had killed the shaman who was plotting a coup d'état, so Auman killed and stole his sorcerer powers. Due to his contributions, in stopping the coup, he was promoted from a slave to a shaman. After that, in order to adapt to the Balaks, Ayan heard that he did anything, including the cleaning up of shit and pee. Auman was responsible for all the dirty work within the village. He was also used as bait for dangerous prey during hunts. This man was the definition of a true hustler. However, he was only acknowledged as a member of the tribe, only when he became old and his hair turned gray. As we return to the present, Vikir thought about what she told him, wondering that since Auman was older now, did he want all the privileges that he wasn't entitled to when he was younger? He could now see that this old man had overstepped the authority of the matriarch and tried to take over the entire forest. As Aquila asks him what he was doing, she tells him to show her his pouch right now. With an aura that kind of turns me on but at the same time makes me feel as if I'm about to shit my pants. Sweat started to drip down the old man's face as he swallowed hard. He starts to stutter in his speech, telling Aquila of course, but as he takes the pouch, he tells her that this was the flower that he saved to eat after the ceremony. But the old man becomes clumsy as the pouch seems to slip from his old wrinkly hands. There was an awkward silence between the three of them as they all watched as the pouch dropped into the water. The pouch was able to open as it dropped into the waters, revealing the so-called flower that Auman said he had brought to eat after the ceremony. Who the heck eats flour? And so, Auman started to blame his hand tremors for causing him to accidentally drop the pouch into the river. But Aquila wore an expression of disappointment, a look that our parents often give us as she tells Vikir that he was right again. She looks at him, reminded over the fact that he had told her that Auman would throw the pouch into the river. But our boy was concerned with the fact that they could no longer reveal the contents of Auman's pouch with the same method. Taking this chance, Auman tries to refute Vikir's claim of him having the antidote and making the accusation that he was the one that had spread the poison throughout the forest. Even going so far as to point a finger at Vikir, telling Aquila to punish the wicked bastard, as Vikir had framed Auman, who considered himself a righteous self and whose honor as a shaman has been spoiled. She agrees with the old man, telling everyone that you couldn't frame someone without evidence. And since Auman mentioned he was innocent, Aquila was willing to help him protect his honor and pride. Auman starts to smile, thinking that as the matriarch, she couldn't punish him without any evidence. Aquila then orders for an Iliad. What she orders sends chills down the old man's spine as he heard what she said. An Iliad is conducted when conflicts of opinions cannot be resolved. The Balaks side with the victor of the Iliad as the loser is deemed incompetent. A Hun appears, reminding his grandfather that he had always said that tradition is important. So he reminds him that Iliad is a tradition of the Balaks, so he wanted the old man to show them how he protects their tradition. His own grandson's words cut the old man deep, so he agrees with what they want, telling Vikir that the Iliad will happen 4 days from now, during the night of the full moon, making it official. Flexing his beautiful hard-toned abs, Vikir walks to the old man, telling him 4 days my ass. He explains that he knew that the one who receives the Iliad request was the one to decide the day, according to tradition. But honestly, Vikir knew that evidence and verification were all meaningless to Auman, since cornering him into a situation where he had no choice but to request an Iliad was all a part of Vikir's plan. Vikir was on the hunt again, as he tells Auman that they should do it right now. As the sun began to set in the tribe, everyone gathers together. Even Aquila wore her equipment, as she announces that the Iliad will begin now. She continues to tell the tribe that the Iliad will proceed within the circle made by warriors. She orders them to mercilessly execute cowards who try to leave the circle. Everyone agrees with the command as they chanted in unison together. She informs them that behind her was the warriors' mountain where their ancestors' grave resides. As their ancestors are watching, she won't forgive indecency. As Vikir and Auman hid behind their respective trees, Aquila tells them that their forefathers judge what is right and wrong, so they will decide the victor. And as a Balak warrior, they needed to prove that they're right. As the warriors and Ayan hid in the trees, they started to chant Vikir's name to show their support. Seeing their reaction annoyed Auman as he bit his finger, thinking that no one was on his side. But he knew that they'll stop chanting Vikir's name once he won, since weapons weren't the only thing you can use in an Iliad, just as he spills his own blood onto the ground. A skull started to emerge from where the blood was spilled, and soon enough, Auman had 3 weird-looking skeletons to support him. He orders the skeletons to watch his blind spots and to notify him once they see Vikir. Seeing that his preparations were complete, Auman readies his bow and arrow. Smiling over the fact that he knew that this was impossible for Vikir, who has only been here for 2 years, against someone like him who had spent 7 years in the forest, so there was no way for him to be familiar with the terrain. Just as he wanted Vikir to show himself in order for him to shoot an arrow right through his soul, our boy appears upside down right beside Auman, without him even noticing. I'm telling you, Vikir is Batman. As Vikir hung upside down like a bat, he thought about the silent heal skill that he had gotten from killing the master of the swamp, the Magikarp gone wrong. He knew that it was a Mishusu skill that allows you to silently target your prey's opening. What he liked about it was that it gets rid of the surrounding sounds, which is useful for assassins like him. Seeing Dumb, Dumber and Dumbest, Vikir knew that Auman wasn't a shaman just by name. Seeing how he could let the dead arise, Vikir concluded that he must have been from Lokoko, a tribe of shamans. But all that didn't matter to the main character of this story. As Vikir casually drops in between the 3 idiots without anyone noticing at all. And just like how fast you last in bed, Vikir was done with them within seconds. Simply by swinging his sword around, he slices and dices them into pieces. Auman still doesn't sense Vikir's presence, as he thought that Vikir was probably too scared and haven't even moved at all. Ka-chow, went Vikir as he simply stabs the old man in the back, silent but deadly. Sensing nothing at all but the sharp pain in his chest, Auman coughs blood. As tears started to flood his eyes, he panics, wondering when Vikir had arrived as he couldn't even hear him step on the fallen leaves. Like a piece of trash, Vikir simply tosses the old man back onto the ground, wiping away the blood from his sword at the same time. Seeing that the job was done, Vikir absorbs his sword back. The moment he does, Ayin comes running and calling out to him. The tribe members couldn't believe that the winner was decided in an instant. Some believed that it was because the ancestors decided that what Auman was saying wasn't worth listening to. But the old man isn't done yet. While Vikir was talking to Ayin, his body was barely still moving. He could feel that it hurts, as though his wound was burning. This made him realize that he didn't want to die. In order to survive within the Balax, Auman had endured that shameful past. He thought it was unfair if this was his end. As he stares at Vikir with his bloodied vision, Auman wonders why he couldn't have the things that Vikir has. So he claws the ground, cursing at Vikir that he wouldn't forgive him, the bastard who took the things that should have been for him, along with those Balak bastards who looked down on him too, and the Lokoko tribe that abandoned him. All of them must pay. Vikir turns to a Hun, asking him about his thoughts on ending this with his own hands, as Vikir knew that if they left Auman like that, he would continuously be in pain. But a Hun declines, showing us that he has ice in his veins. He recounted the fact that he almost lost Ahul because of the Red Death. Even if Auman was his grandfather, he wouldn't forgive him. He considered it right for a coward to be in pain, as Auman wasn't worth pitying. Play the final boss music as Auman appears to still be alive as blood started to flow from his eyes that were shining brightly. While everyone was talking, he had drawn a magic circle made of his own blood. With his finger trembling, he finishes the final stroke of the blood circle. It appears to work as a purple light starts to appear on a tomb. The lid of the tomb slowly opens up, as a bright light appears from within the ancestors' graves. A dark and evil atmosphere could be seen as the skies turned purple while the forest was covered with a black deathly aura. Aquila and Ayin appeared shocked as they could feel the ominous energy coming from their ancestors' grave. Soon enough, even a Hun notices something as a cold drip of sweat makes its way down his face. Auman had started to move his body just as Vikir notices a Hun's expression and reaction to something. Even Vikir was shocked by what was happening as he knew that he had stabbed Auman in the lungs, talking about taking his breath away. The tribesmen could see that this was Auman's doing, angered that he had messed with their ancestors' graves. "Aren't you afraid of the ancestors' wrath?" shouted the tribesmen at Auman, whose figure started to change. But as he mutters the word ancestors, he reveals his demonic face, asking the tribe if he was the one who should be afraid of the ancestors. Vikir couldn't believe it. He immediately leaps forward, telling everyone that they needed to kill Auman right now. But an arrow filled with that deathly aura was sent flying, landing and exploding between Auman and Vikir, who manages to dodge the attack. Ayin was stunned to see that there was an arrow with a massive crater around it, whereas Vikir was wondering if he was too late. A single light was seen on the mountain as Auman tells them that the ancestors were the one to decide what was right. As a lone figure stood on the mountain with a bow readied, Auman tells the tribe that it was time for the great ancestors' judgment. It's MILF time. Ayin couldn't believe that one of their ancestors was back from the dead, while Vikir couldn't believe that Auman had used resurrection sorcery on a Balak ancestor, as he knew that there was no way that was possible for a shaman like Auman. But seeing his weird look, Vikir questions whether Auman had turned himself into an undead as well. Auman then starts to summon even more of the undead, asking the tribe if they thought he was just a shaman living among the Balaks without any countermeasures. But he warns them that it was too early to be surprised as even more ancestors started to appear. It turns out that there wasn't only one grave here on the Warriors' Mountain. Using the skeletons as a ride, Auman quickly escaped using the undead car, telling the tribe to do their best fighting against their ancestors. A Hun spots the old man leaving, and immediately draws his bow and arrow while calling out to him, asking Auman about how low he was going to go, but just as he did, something dark sped fast and cut his arrow in half. A Hun could spot where the attack came from. It was the first ancestor that had awakened. Her eyes were soulless as she growled at the tribe. So we answer back with our attack as something blue and fast hits the ancestor right into her undead face. The attack came from Aquila, who ordered her tribe to get ready for battle. She informs them that the people in front of them were just Auman's puppets, and that they could send their formalities to their ancestors after they send them off. So they just needed to prioritize their survival, but her tribe seems nervous as they hesitated to go against their ancestors in combat. The battle between the living and the dead rages on as the tribe battled it out throughout the forest. But even though they had been dead for so long, the ancestors didn't hold back as they went in for the kill against the tribe, cutting them down, hunting them down like prey. They even let out a fierce zombified roar, which the tribe answers back with a headshot. One by one the dead ancestors' heads were blown off by a single hit. A lone archer from the tribe was doing the work as she tried her best to carry the tribe. As Vikir himself stabs an undead, he spots the attacks, one arrow per Death Knight. He could see that she was killing Death Knights that are on par with a high-ranked graduator. It turns out to be our mommy, the Night Fox Aquila. The rumor about her protecting the forest from the Empire wasn't just a rumor. Seeing that the Matriarch Aquila was here, Vikir knew that there wouldn't be a problem, so he told Ayin to follow him, informing her that they would be following Auman, who could be seen speeding through the forest on his undead car, shouting out loud that the Balak bastards would regret kicking him out. But as he rides, he tells one of his undead that he needed it to take care of something. As the undead went to follow its orders, Auman took a second to pause and think about something. He knew that even though he had resurrected the ancestors, as long as Aquila was here, he couldn't act carelessly. Since she was known as a genius who has been the strongest village head in history. But he smirks at the thought of genius, as he knew that even if she was one, she wouldn't be able to handle what's about to happen. The skies continue to darken as the battle against the undead ancestors rages on. Vikir and Ayin are hiding themselves behind some trees, waiting for an opportunity, as they spotted Auman, who was casting another evil spell. Vikir wonders why he had escaped to this place over here, where it was just an area with pillars, and even started to chant in a place like this. But Ayin was certain that they couldn't allow Auman to act suspiciously any further. With murder in her eyes, she tells Vikir that she was going to kill Auman right here right now. So she lets out a powerful arrow that speeds right towards Auman, but as it inches even closer to the undead maniac, he smiles and whispers that he was done. A thick muscular arm appears from underneath the ground, grabbing Ayin's powerful arrow with just two of its fingers. This scene shocks the couple as they watch with a stupefied look on their faces. Auman, on the other hand, was celebrating as he realized that he was successful in summoning it. A new undead ancestor is being introduced as Auman recalled the legend that says that he sleeps deep within the forest alone. He continued to exclaim out loud that he was the only one that had noticed this ancestor. The undead's head that was filled with a few pieces of hair started to regrow, all of it in a matter of seconds. As the ancestor kneeled onto the ground, its undead body started to regrow its flesh as it held onto a bow in its hand. It turns out that this was the divine archer Adonai, the muscle daddy of the Balak tribe. Even Vikir and Ayin remained stunned upon hearing that Auman had managed to summon the one and only Adonai, the so-called legendary archer of the Balaks, and whose entire body had finally healed. But as they stared at the gigachad, Adonai drew his bow and arrow, aiming right at them. He sends out a terrifying demonic arrow, straight at our couple, which Vikir was able to deflect with his own demonic sword. But his face was filled with a worried expression as he only managed to deflect it just inches away from his face. He knew that it was an arrow that was created with aura and that he even managed to deflect it, but just the damage it caused was overwhelming. It turns out that he didn't deflect it all as Ayin staggered onto the ground in pain, groaning hard as a wound appears on her thigh, covered in the demonic aura. She tells Vikir that the wound made her legs feel as though they were burning. Vikir sees this and wonders if it was poison, since she came in contact with Adonai's arrow. This made him recall the legend about Adonai dueling with that monster was true, as the bow he was using was made from the remains of Madame Eight Legs' leg. Adonai doesn't know the word relax as he bombards Vikir and Ayin with an endless wave of poison arrow attacks onto them, all of which Vikir deflects, sending them flying towards various parts of the forest. Their battle of attacking and deflecting resulted in the trees and ground around them being blown away, leaving the land barren. Ayin calls out to Vikir, who wore a painful expression on his face. She tells him to stop protecting her so that he could run away and leave her, but our boy wasn't listening as he held his trembling arm. Even Beelzebub was feeling the pain. Auman started to laugh, telling Vikir and Ayin that he wasn't going to let them live. So he orders Adonai to kill them both. He obeys the order without hesitation, sending out another powerful attack filled with aura and poison. Vikir and Ayin could only stare at the powerful attack as it made its way towards them. Just as Vikir was bracing himself for the attack, our holy savior appears and snatches the arrow made of aura with her bare hands. This action shocks everyone in the vicinity who witnessed it. As the arrow continued to rage within her hand, she easily suppressed it by squeezing on it hard. Before smashing it into powder, with a look on her face that screams, "Someone's about to get a spanking." As she stares at Auman, she tells him that they were going to have a talk. Just those words were enough to send him into shock.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.